Sherlock Holmes has always faced cunning criminals, but in CBS's Elementary, the villains weren't just clever, they were terrifying. Over 7 seasons, Sherlock and Joan Watson went head-to-head with killers, masterminds, and manipulators who left even Holmes shaken. Today, we're exposing the 7 most diabolical villains from Elementary, the enemies who pushed Sherlock beyond the edge. Stick around until the end, because villain number 1 isn't just Holmes's deadliest enemy. It's the one he could never truly escape. Before we get into the main list, let's give a nod to some honorable mentions. The villains who may not have made the top 7 but still left an impression. Augie Wren, a hacker who thrived in digital chaos, proving sometimes the deadliest weapon is a keyboard. Mimi Ramat, the mysterious fixer who pulled strings from the shadows, selling power and secrets to the highest bidder. Ilana March's network of enforcers. Her loyal soldiers carried out brutal acts that made her reign of terror possible. Random case of the week killers. From clever poisoners to cold-blooded manipulators, Elementary specialized in villains who were terrifyingly plausible. People who could almost exist in the real world. These smaller threats set the stage, but the villains on our main list were on another level entirely. At number 7, we have Ilana March, the mob boss whose influence stretched far beyond prison walls. Unlike hot-headed gangsters, Ilana was calm, calculating, and patient. Even when locked up, she orchestrated deaths with chilling ease, proving that true power doesn't come from fear. It comes from control. She wasn't just a mobster. She was a spider, spinning webs that reached every corner of New York's criminal underworld. Number 6 is Moriarty's right-hand man, Sebastian Moran, also known as M. A ruthless contract killer, Moran was suspected of murdering Irene Adler before the truth about her identity was revealed. What made Moran so terrifying wasn't just his brutality, it was his loyalty. He wasn't just a hired gun. He was Moriarty's shadow, carrying out her will with blood and precision. In a way, Moran wasn't just killing for money. He was killing for love of a cause, and that's what made him so dangerous. At number 5, we enter morally gray territory with Morland Holmes, Sherlock's father. Unlike other villains, Morland wasn't purely evil, but his ties to global crime networks and his willingness to strike deals with monsters made him a deeply unsettling presence. For Sherlock, facing Morland wasn't about solving a crime. It was about confronting a man who embodied everything he despised and everything he feared he could become. In many ways, Morland Holmes showed us that sometimes the greatest villain isn't a stranger, it's family. Number 4 takes us to one of the most chilling arcs in the series, Michael Rowan. On the surface, he was just another man in recovery, calm, quiet, even friendly. But beneath that facade, Michael was a serial killer. His obsession with Sherlock turned their battle into something disturbingly personal. He wanted Sherlock to relapse, to fail, to lose himself completely. Michael wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. He was patient. And that's what made him terrifying. Because real-world monsters rarely look like villains. They look like neighbors. Coming in at number 3 is tech billionaire Odin Reichenbach. Unlike other villains, Odin didn't see himself as evil. In fact, he thought he was saving humanity by deciding who deserved to live and who should die. With endless money, surveillance networks, and godlike confidence, Odin became more than just a criminal. He became a chilling reflection of our own digital age, where power and privacy collide in ways we can't always see. The scariest part? Odin didn't think he was wrong, and that made him unstoppable. At number 2, we have the villain who defined Sherlock's journey, Jamie Moriarty, also known as Irene Adler. Brilliant, manipulative, and devastatingly charismatic, Moriarty was Sherlock's intellectual equal and his greatest emotional weakness. She blurred the lines between love and betrayal, forcing Sherlock to question not just his cases, but his heart. Moriarty's genius wasn't just in outsmarting Holmes. It was in knowing exactly how to hurt him. With every move, every smirk, every revelation, she reminded us that sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't a gun or a knife. It's love twisted into control. At number 1, we've listed Sherlock's greatest and most relentless adversary, his inner demons. Unlike Moriarty or Odin, this villain couldn't be handcuffed or outsmarted because it lived inside Sherlock himself. Addiction. Sherlock's battle with addiction wasn't a backstory detail. It was an ongoing war. His dependence on heroin had left scars, emotional, physical, and psychological. Even in sobriety, temptation lingered like a shadow. Every relapse threat was more than just a stumble. It was the potential unraveling of everything Sherlock had rebuilt: his cases, his relationships, his purpose. For him, sobriety wasn't a victory. It was a daily fight. Isolation and emotional distance. Sherlock's genius came with a price: loneliness. His brilliance often alienated him from others, leaving him cold, detached, and struggling to connect. In many ways, Sherlock's sharp mind was both his greatest gift and his greatest curse. He could dissect anyone else's motives, but when it came to himself, he was blind. His demons whispered that he was destined to be alone, that his only true companion was the work. Fear of weakness. Holmes prided himself on control, logic, and sharpness of thought, but his demons thrived on his deepest fear: losing control. Whether through drugs, grief, or failure, the idea of weakness terrified him. To Sherlock, a relapse wasn't just about drugs. It was proof his demons were winning. Every case he solved was a battle against crime, but every day he stayed sober was a battle against himself. In the end, Elementary reminded us of something universal. The hardest villain to defeat is the one that knows every secret, every weakness, and every fear. Sherlock's inner demons weren't just his greatest enemy. They were the enemy he would fight for the rest of his life. Sherlock's growth wasn't about becoming a better detective. It was about proving he could face his inner darkness and still stand. And thanks to Joan Watson, he didn't have to stand alone. But now we want to hear from you. Which villain shook you the most? Was it Moriarty's brilliance, Michael Rowan's quiet menace, or Odin Reichenbach's terrifying vision of justice? Drop your answer in the comments below. And don't forget, like this video, share it with your fellow Holmes fans, and subscribe for more deep dives into television's greatest villains.